Good afternoon. I welcome all the participants for the third session of the day. Role of software-defined radio in 5G. Our chief guest, E. Muralikrishnan, is the founder, director of OptiThought. OptiThought associated with National Instruments as academic service partner. Currently, he is handling the major responsibility as improving the quality of engineering and science education. He is graduated engineer specialized in electronics and communication and masters in telecommunication from Victoria University, Melbourne. He is working with various projects associated with the NI technology. He has traveled widely in South India and Nagaland, has conducted various workshops and seminars at various colleges and industry. He is certified engineer from NI USA, a dynamic professional with 11 years of rich experience in the areas of teaching, industrial training to students, strategic planning for admission and improving of university. Presently founder and director of OptiThought. A company started with the focus of industrial skill development for technical students, partnering with National Instruments, understanding of various regular bodies like MHRD, UGC, and ASCT, thorough knowledge of various parameters involved in global ranking systems such as QS World Ranking and Times Higher Education World University Ranks, implemented NBA and NAC requirements for department and university level accreditation, experience in marketing and university branding, reconstructing of university authorities to meet the regularities and assessment requirements, prepare a framework for roles and responsibility of Dean Research and Development. He has done a lot of consultancy projects for SMEs. Current areas of interest are software-defined radio, digital communication system, Wave, LTE, MIMO, cognitive and 5G communication system. We are very happy to have you with us, sir. Now I request our chief guest to take over the proceedings.
Thank you very much for your introduction. So the workshop is majorly focused on 5G, and there are various areas it's going to be addressed. And my understanding is it's majorly focused on antenna design research part of the 5G. So, but my focus is more on the physical layer. Let me explain you what is the need of 5G and then how it can be implemented. Sir, I want to share my screen.
Sure, sir, you can share.
It says host disabled the participant screen sharing.
Just give me 1 minute, sir. So you can try now, sir.
Yeah. I hope you can able to see my screen.
Yes, sir, you can able to see this.
So first of all, we need to understand why we need 5G. So this is probably you might, this is to be frank, it's the first day. So I like to go with a few introduction and then I will touch on my concepts on SDR. So everybody are aware of 2G, 3G and 4G. So what is the purpose of 4G? We all aware that we are looking for a large amount of data. So we are really aggregated toward the data. That's the reason the 4G has been implemented. But when it comes to 5G, it's more of an industry standard. It's completely an industry standard. When it comes to industry standard, it's not only the users are looking for 5G technology. There are a lot of things they have been looking for 5G, particularly in most of the industry. Automotive is one of the key research areas. They are looking for 5G, where autonomous vehicle, and then there are healthcare industry. The robotics has been doing the surgery over the internet, and these are all some of the key areas. And manufacturing industry, almost now I will come across the concept called Tesla. They have all completely automated the complete industry. So almost there are no humans are present in Tesla industry, Tesla manufacturing plant. So these are all the things. There are a lot of communications are taking place. So automotive, manufacturing sector, and in healthcare. So this requires a large amount of spectrum or large amount of data has been required. So if you just look into the 5G, there are few parameters are just going around it. One is the throughput, number of devices, cost, power, latency. And now when it comes to the manufacturing industry, the augmented reality and virtual reality are coming into place. So, and the data requirement are huge. So these are all some of the things which is pushing for 5G, and almost there are 10 years of research are happening in 5G. So, and almost we are going to get 5G mobile phones probably in India. I'm just talking about in India. So in a couple of years, it will take at least a couple of years. The major advantage of 5G and the quite disadvantage of 5G is it has a very few backward compatibility. That's a very, very important concept. Why the 5G is struggling to come and still why it is in the research phase? Because some of the universities and some of the developed nations are already moved into the 6G, but still we are yet to see the 5G for the consumer because it is a poor backward compatibility. What do you mean by backward compatibility is when 4G phones are coming, it can accommodate 4G concept as well as it can accommodate the 3G concept. But when it comes to 5G, it's completely more of the things are very new technology where the backward compatibility of 4G is not possible. Because of that, the huge infrastructure implementations are required. So you cannot already use the base stations of the 4G. So there are a lot of things has to be installed, or a lot of infrastructure development needs to be done. So that is one of the biggest challenge that too, particularly in the developing countries, installing infrastructure for the communication system is enormous and it's huge. So these are all the challenges of 5G, and I already told why the 5G is we are seriously looking for. So when it comes to 5G, always when it comes to 5G, or it's not only the 5G, we need to understand what is the key parameter we have been looking. Because if you have been talking about 5G, so these are all the parameters you need to understand. So I have listed out some of the key parameters which are relevant for the physical layer. So the peak data rate. So this is the standard which comes. So the standard has been issued by ITU. Everybody have come across what do you mean by ITU. So ITU will publish the standard, but who will be doing standard? So it's a 3GPP. So the people who are already doing research or already into the communication, I request you to go through 3GPP website. So 3GPP is a consortium. So in this consortium, they are the one going to implement the standards which has been shared by the ITU. In 3GPP, there are a lot of companies and the leading universities. Almost there are 100 people have been involved in 3GPP. Whatever the standard has been provided by the ITU, they are the one going to build the standard. So NI is one among the 3GPP. Whoever you can take, all the global leaders, whether it's a Broadcom or it's a Qualcomm or it's a Samsung or it's a Nokia or it's a Bristol University or Lund University or New York University. So there are nearly 100 people are in the consortium, and they are in the process of building the ITU standards, and there are a lot of versions have been coming sometime before 5G version 15 has been published, and it's still going on. So in this process, IITs, the old IITs and Indian Institute of Science, Indian government also pushed a lot of money. In India, IITs have a 5G test bed. So the old IITs, IIT Chennai, Bombay, Delhi, Kharagpur, and Hyderabad, and Indian Institute of Science, all this joined together and they are formed as a 5G test bed, and they are also part of this consortium, and they are also trying to validate some of the standards, and they are in the process of building the standard. So this is some background information. So when it comes to key performance metrics, we need to understand whether what is 5G. So anything in communication, as a communication engineer, it has to be measured what? That's the most relevant thing. So when it comes to 5G parameter, they are talking about the peak data rate. So uplink has to be 20 gigabits per second. So these numbers are really staggering, and sometimes it looks even unbelievable. So the same way the downlink has to be 20 gigabits. And the spectral efficiency they have been talking about is when it comes to downlink, it is 30 bits per second per hertz. So it's almost talking about an ultra dense network. So you haven't known what do you mean by ultra dense network. So probably we have not come across ultra dense network in some of the metropolitans, but when it go into the western side, it's really ultra dense network. So if you just go into the ultra dense network, there are a lot of issues are there, which we can see sometime later. And they are talking about the latency, user experience data rate, so downlink, and area traffic capacity. So you have already come across the area traffic capacity. So at particular region, how many mobile phones you can have it, at what time they can. It's not only mobile phones, because in 5G, it's not only mobile phones we have been talking, device to device, that is nearly 50 billion devices, communicating devices are there. So everything has to talk to everything. So smart traffic light, the vehicle needs to talk to smart traffic light, vehicle to vehicle communication. There are multiple devices. So the area traffic capacity is also very, very important. And connection density. So 1 million devices per square kilometer. 1 million devices means it's almost 10 lakh devices, which we have been talking. And energy efficiency. So in 4G, there is a huge problem of energy efficiency. What I am talking is when it comes to the user equipment, that is our mobile phone, for our convenience. So when you go to 5G, don't ever think only the mobile phone is only the concept. There are multiple industries have been involved. So just for our understanding and for our convenience, so we are taking as a user equipment 90% reduction in energy usage. This is in a very simpler form. When we are using our mobile phone, we tend to charge a lot of times. We tend to the smartphones. The reason for behind that is, any idea? Why we have been charging the mobile phones quite often? Because when it comes to manufacturing industry, it's not possible for us to charge it day in, day out. So it's a user equipment, we have a convenience to charge it. But when we are talking about the automotive industry, so let us take an example of automotive industry. We are not charging the battery of the vehicle. It has been charged at least 2 to 3 years. So there are a lot of things have been involved. So what is the challenges in smartphone? It's not because of the applications, or it's not because of the APIs, or not because of the gaming. Maybe all this plays some role or other, but the major reduction in energy is because of the OFDM. So OFDM, already you have come across OFDM. It is a really energy consuming modulation where it has been predominantly implemented in the 4G technology, and in 5G also there are new waveforms which have been based on the principles of OFDM. Because of OFDM, it's a energy consuming, because our cell phone is in constant touch with the base station. So it's constantly the data has been transmitting. Because of that, our cell phone energy has been getting drained. And the reliability is, may not be as very potential when it comes to the user equipment. But when we are talking about the robotic surgery, even if one packet loss in 100 million packet, that will have a huge impact. So these are some of the concepts. And mobility. So we are aware of mobility. In India, the mobility is not as good, because when we are traveling in the trains, so we will get signal at some places, we don't even get signals. I'm not even talking about talking continuously over the cell phone. Even at some places, we are not even getting the signal. So, but mobility, what they are talking is, if we are traveling at 500 kilometers per hour, almost 500 kilometers, it's a bullet train, you should be able to talk continuously. That is the key parameters of this. These are the standards has been published by the ITU, and this is a standard 3GPP are working with the consortium, and probably in a couple of years. Already 5G has been implemented in pockets in some regions, but as a overall 5G is yet to come. Probably, I believe in another 2 to 3 years, it will be implemented in pockets. So these are a lot of things we have been talking. So you got it clear that if you are researching 5G, you need to first clearly identify what is your scope of interest. Your scope of interest is peak data rate. or spectral efficiency, or it is a energy usage. First, you need to understand what you are much interested, and then you need to go on to the particular research and what type of user equipment you have been looking for. So with this presentation, with this till now, you might have got some ideas about 5G. Probably you might have got some ideas of 5G. Okay. The simplest way to explain 5G is, this is the best way to explain the 5G. So a 2-hour HD movie, if 5G technology has been implemented. So this is the best way to explain the concept. So if you implemented 4G, full 4G is there, 2-hour HD movie will take you for 30 seconds for the download. If you implemented 5G, you should take only 3 seconds to download the 2-hour HD movie. So that is the standard which we have been talking. So that's the expectation. So 4G means it's 30 seconds and it's 5G means 3 seconds. That means it's almost 10x times of the 4G technology. So this is the best way we can understand the 5G. And I have been talking about 5G. There are multiple layers have been involved. So if you just look into this RF waveform, these are some of the standards. So LTE, WCDMA, SCDMA, GSM. So if you just look into this, they have come up with a particular modulation technique, particular transmission method. So these are all the standard protocols. What should be my channel bandwidth? What should be my peak data rate? So these are all the standards which we have been talking. So the reason is, when we are talking about the communication, so when we are talking about the communication, there are multiple parameters involved. So multiple parameters means, so now any communication system, it comes as a package, it comes as a protocol. So when it comes to protocol, so the best protocol we come across is a OSI. So OSI, so there are several layers of protocol. So whether OSI is not a protocol, it's a standard. Similarly, if you just go into the TCP, it's a 4-layer protocol. So in a similar way, any communication standard, whether it's a LTE or it's a 5G or it's a 6G, anything, it can be divided into a layered protocol. Whatever the principles of OSI, the principle has to be implemented. So predominantly the physical and MAC combined to form a layer. Now it's all joined together, and network and transportation forms another layer, and the remaining 3 layers, session, presentation, application, or so it may be a 3-layer or 4-layer protocol, but it's all the principles of OSI have been formed into the protocol. So now my presentation will be more focused on the physical layer, that is the physical layer and the MAC layer. So in these 2 layers, what we can able to do it, by doing what we can able to achieve it. So when we are doing on these 2 layers, we will be assuming there are a lot of assumptions, because when it comes to communication, since you have come across communication, there will be always an assumption, or there will be some mathematical modeling of the remaining layers, and based on the mathematical modeling, you will be working on the remaining layers. So my presentation will be more focused on the physical and MAC layer, because my so these are all the things I have been focused. So my focus is on a peak data rate, latency, area traffic capacity, connection, whatever the key parameters I have mentioned, spectrum efficiency. So what are the key parameters I have mentioned? It's all related to physical layer. It's all related to physical layer. It's all related to the MAC layer. So if I am not talking about how fast you can reach it, that's the shortest path. In that is the case, you need to go on the network layer and the transportation. I am not talking about the latest API. Now there are a lot of biomedical APIs are coming that you can find the blood pressure. You can do everything with your mobile phones. So that's all on the application layer. I'm not talking on that phones. that technology or the cloud one, which they have been talking now very frequently. I am talking about the the raw thing, the spectral efficiency, the energy efficiency, the traffic rate, how this can be implemented, how it can be implemented. For doing this, we need to have a very thorough understanding of the physical layer and some level of a MAC layer. So when we are talking about physical layer, what do you mean by physical layer? So we have now come across what is the need for 5G. So what are the challenges of 5G? Who is promoting the 5G? And then we have seen the key parameters of 5G. All these key parameters are related to the physical and MAC layer. Now we need to understand what is physical layer. So the physical layer are nothing but this is the best way to explain the physical layer in this block diagram. So physical layer is nothing, not the wire which are connected to the Ethernet cable or not. This is an algorithm. This is the algorithm. So how you can implement the physical layer is these are all the things which constitute your spectral efficiency, which constitute your bandwidth. So these are all the staggering performance, very key parameters of the communication system. So it predominantly to our convenience, I can say what are things we have been talking. So we have been talking about the source coding. We have been talking about the channel modeling or channel encoding, multiplexing, pulse modulation or the baseband modulation, and then passband modulation and spectrum multiple accessor. So these are all the areas. So where you can improve the spectral efficiency. If you work on this particular area, your spectral efficiency can be improved, or the energy optimization can be worked on, or the area traffic capacity. So this is the simplified approach how you can work on the physical layer. Now let me move on to my presentation. So this is the presentation I got it. So from 5G theory to practice. So we have been talking about 5G for quite some time from theoretical point of view, how it can be practically implemented. So there are a lot of ways you can implement the 5G. So one of the way is using a NI platform. So NI is, as I already mentioned, there are very few companies are in the consortium of the 5G prototyping. That is, whatever the ITU standards. So 3GPP has formed a consortium. Consortium is nothing but a group of organizations who are working together to come up with a standard to implement the standard. NI is one among the consortium. So in last 30 years, NI's key product is LabVIEW. So the advantage of this one is starting from modeling. So when it comes to communication, there are a lot of modeling has been involved. And then after modeling, we have to simulate and then we have to validate the algorithm. And finally, it has to be prototyped. So this is a platform which can be helped to start from scratch and it can implement till the prototype. And the beauty of this platform is that it's a cross platform also. So that means cross platform is, to be frank, irrespective of the software or irrespective of the platform, 5G cannot be implemented with a single platform. So with the LabVIEW, now you can able to integrate with the Python, you can able to integrate with MATLAB, you can integrate with the Xilinx. There are multiple ways you can integrate with multiple technology to implement and can optimize the 5G technology. That is one of the advantages of this particular platform. And it works on the it's called a V model. So in industry, it's always they say it's a V model. So from design, they will go into the prototype. From prototype, they will go to the test, and then after validation. So the advantage of this V model is so in any time we can go back to any model, and we can ensure from design we can go to test. From test we can prototype until we implemented the standardization. So this is one of the key advantage of this particular platform. And I have already told there are a lot of consortiums are there. So some of the players are in the consortium. The Lund University in Sweden, Nokia, TUD is a key university in German NUA. So they are all part of the consortium, and they are using NA technology, University of Texas, Austin, A&M. They are using the consortium to work on the standards. So there are a lot of people have been involved, Nokia, LNG, AT. So there are a lot of people are there. So and they are going to use a platform called a software defined radio. So let us understand why software defined. So prototyping is critical for algorithm research. So what I mean by algorithm research is we are coming up a new coding technique. So coding, error control coding. But unless you prototype it, because the days are over, unless you prototype that algorithm, you cannot say I have implemented the concept. I have implemented. So NI is very, very, very strong in prototyping the critical algorithmic research in a much easier way. So it clearly shows that experience shows the real world often breaks some of the assumptions made in the theoretical research. Because without prototyping, there are a lot of assumptions we tend to take. That is, we tend to take the assumptions of the communication channel, and based on the communication channel, we work on the model. I am not saying that's wrong. That's almost correct for 80%. But when we are going to implement in real scenario, then you have to work on test beds and you have to prototype. So in that case, NA is having a key advantage. So this is how NA works on R&D. Fine. Okay. Now I have been talking about the layers. I'll just come back to this, please. So peak data rate, spectral efficiency, area traffic capacity. So these are all the technological key performance indicator. So my interest is to implement this. So to implement this, there are few vectors. The two on whichever I'm talking is a 5G vectors where you can able to implement it. So the 4 vectors which we are going to focus as a massive MIMO, densification, physical layer enhancement, and a millimeter wave. So these are all the areas, key research areas we can able to work, and so that we can implement the parameter. So massive MIMO. So let us start with first massive MIMO. Yeah, massive MIMO. Any idea on massive MIMO? Okay, so now there are a lot of research have been focused on the beam forming. Since it's an antenna research, massive MIMO is also a part of an antenna research. But in our case, we have been talking more on the algorithm. So we have been talking on the algorithm. We are not much focused on the antenna research. So in this case, the Lund University have been done a research under cross 10. That is almost there are 128 antennas they have taken. That is user equipment. You can able to see. These are all, each one is a device. So they have taken a huge amount of data, huge amount of user equipment, and from them they have been synchronized, tightly synchronized, and they are trying to send the data. That is basically nowadays, the simple form is nowadays your router comes with 2 antenna to 4 antenna. So it is a starting point of the MIMO concept. So now in this case, they have implemented the massive MIMO. So how the data rate and the spectral efficiency, which we have been talking, how they can able to improve it. So in this case, they have taken more than 100 devices, and then they have taken different antennas and they have implemented. This is the architectural framework of the particular system. So the USRP Rio, USRP is nothing but one of the NI's flagship product. So there are multiple USRPs they have taken. So in the bottom, you can able to see the antenna 1 to 32, antenna like that, antenna 97 to 128, multiple USRPs, and there are multiple PXI. This is the next level of RF hardware, and they have been tightly synchronized. And then they are trying to transmit the huge amount of data through multiple antennas at IQ sampling at 15.7 gigabits sampling rate. And we have been seen in the RF, the first. So the TDD, time division duplexing, is taking place. By doing that, they are able to see the huge data rate. So in already I have told in 5G, so the uplink has to be 10 gigabits per second and the downlink has to be 20 gigabits per second. That means you need to prototype whether I can able to push that much of data at a time, and I have to validate whether my mobile phone has a capacity to downlink 20 gigabits per data per second. So that needs to be validated. So they are trying to validate it. Is it possible? But it's all in the closed environment. It's all in the closed environment. That is one of the challenges of the 5G, where they take most of the things as an assumption and they are trying to validate it in this 5G. Don't immediately ask that whether my mobile phone is possible or to downlink. At the moment, they are validating the algorithm. So this is one of the key parameters of 5G. So I have a much more detailed paper. I can share it sometime later. So how they have implemented the 5G from theory to reality. So what are the configuration? How they have synchronized it, because the clock synchronization is very key to this. How they can incorporate FPGAs with this. What type of lab coding they have implemented. What are the hardwares they have listed out? They have listed out what are the hardwares they have been using. And this is the pictorial representation. The similar research has also been done at the Bristol University. So the Bristol University have able to come up with a staggering number which we have been talking about. Yeah, spectral efficiency. So the spectral efficiency, if you just look into the second line, the spectral efficiency of downlink has to be 30 bits per second per hertz. So that is called ultra dense network. The same research, whatever I have demonstrated in this case, they are just trying to implement the peak data rate. But in Bristol University, I can share you the presentation sometime later, where they can able to achieve at the latest 131 bits per second per hertz. It's almost something an unbelievable number, or it's a staggering number they are able to implement it. So they are trying to implement an ultra dense network in a very closed environment. If multiple people are there, multiple transmissions are there, whether they can be able to achieve that type of spectral efficiency. So I can able to show you sometime later also. So this is all about massive MIMO. And then now we are talking about the densification. So densification is nothing but the area traffic capacity. So it's called software defined networking. SDR and SDN are much more interlinked, and cloud radio access network. So these are all some of the concepts which they have been talking. So to implement the network, so I have already told. So area traffic network, the transportation has been also been involved. So they are crowd is not a concept, it's a project name. So what they are trying to achieve is, so you are already aware that when it comes to the shortest path or between the base station to base station, you are already doing a lot of research on NS2, NS3, because that's a very good platform for the network layer and the transport layer research. So people have done research on open source platform on various protocol like 802.11 LTE, and they done a protocol research on NS3, and they have passed that modeled data to the LabVIEW, and they are validated in the physical layer. So it is like a cross-link layer research. So it's something, it takes a huge effort, but They have done a cross-link layer. In earlier cases, we have just focused on the physical layer implementation. But in this case, they have done a lot of applications on the NS3. So they have modeled and they have proved the results, and that results has been passed on to the physical layer. Once it has been passed on to the physical layer, that has been transmitted over the free space using NI hardware, and they have checked whatever the algorithm they have developed in the network layer and the transportation layer, they can able to get that results or not. So this is called the concept of densification. So we have already seen the densification factor. So area, traffic capacity, and connecting devices. So this are all comes under the concept of densification. How they implemented the densification factor. The third vector is nothing but the physical enhancement. So physical layer enhancement. So when it comes to physical layer, PU tested, there are a lot of protocols they have been called new 5G waveforms, new 5G waveforms. So it's nothing but the physical layer exploration and prototyping, where TDU, Western has come up with a 2x2 MIMO with the GFDM. So Gaussian frequency division multiplexing prototyping. So this is one of the application area. Other than OFDM, there are new protocols have been working. So instead of OFDM, can we able to work on this new algorithm? So this is how the physical layer. So we have been looking at the various vectors of 5G where you can able to achieve the physical layer concepts. So I have already mentioned what are the physical layer concepts. To achieve the physical layer concepts, what type of research you need to work on it. So in the first case, we are working on the massive MIMO. In massive MIMO, we are trying to achieve different two concepts. One is a peak data rate, another one is a spectral efficiency. One is at Lund University, another one is a Bristol. And then we moved on to the densification, where the project called Crowd, where they are trying to work on the network layer and they exported the data to NI platform where they validated the data. That's nothing but the area, traffic capacity, densification. Now in the third quarter, we are calling as a physical layer enhancement. So in it comes to physical layer enhancement, we have been talking about a new algorithm development. So when it comes to new algorithm development, in this case, it's called a GFDM. So this is the first test bed they are working on a GFDM. This is a constellation of GFDM. And final parameter which they have been talking about, the millimeter wave. So millimeter wave, everybody understood what I mean by millimeter wave. So millimeter wave, it's little bit on the very expensive side because the requirement. So you have seen the channel sounding. So till now we are having an access of 6 gigahertz. In that 6 gigahertz, there are a lot of spectrum fighting has been happening. So now, due to the huge requirement, people are exploring whether we can move beyond 6 gigahertz, So there are different standards has come up. So 28 gigahertz, 38 gigahertz, 172 gigahertz. Already in automotive, they have come up with the standard. Almost they have standardized that 77 to 81. They are working on a autonomous vehicle. So that is the standard they have given for the automotive. So that is the channel sounding. So they need to understand. Basically, they have to model it. If that frequency, what will happen? So because it's very, very, very difficult if you transmit at that high frequency, what type of impact it will happen, what type of advantages and drawbacks. So this is the research New York University has been done. So they have validated, and this is a very popular researcher. Every communication guy might be knowing it. So Ted Rappaport. So Rappaport belongs to New York University, where he is working on the channel sounding. So everybody come across a book called Wireless Communication by Rappaport. So Rappaport is working on the concept called the channel sounding, where he is modeling the channel, what are the impacts, what are the effects when we are going at a very high frequency, whether we can be used for the communication system, because we are looking for a huge spectrum, huge bandwidth, because in the key parameter, they have been talking about the bandwidth requirement. The system bandwidth support needs to be 1 gigahertz, whereas LTE and all, they are talking about 120 megahertz, in some case 160 megahertz. To be frank, on the mobile users, they are working on a bandwidth of 20 megahertz, but in this case, we have been talking about 1 gigahertz as a bandwidth. So by considering that case, we are going for a huge bandwidth, and we are trying to doing a lot of research on very high frequency. So this is the millimeter wave. So mobile access with up to 5 gigabits data rate throughout the millimeter and above 10 gigabits aggregate capacity for the backhaul. So this is the number they have been working. So it's working on a somewhat in a closed environment. They are trying to achieve such type of numbers. Similarly, the Nokia is also working with NI to achieve such type of values. It's Nokia at the World Congress, and they are able to achieve 1 gigahertz bandwidth. When they are working with the 73 gigahertz carrier, they are able to achieve 1 gigahertz bandwidth. So, since we are all communication people, we will understand how big this number are. So, 1 gigahertz bandwidth is something, anything we can transmit in that bandwidth. So, they are able to demonstrate 10 gigabits per second at a wireless downlink. So this is what they have been talking about at a very high frequency, but there are a lot of disadvantages are also there, which they are parallelly working on it, because at a very high frequency, there are a lot of ionization problem also come into picture. So these are all some of the key parameters which we have been talking. So physical layer enhancement, densification, MIMO, millimeter wave. So, and these are all the hardwares which we have been talking about. So I have already discussed about the few hardwares. One is the PXI platform, another one is a USRP Rio, USRP. So these are some of the parameters which we have been talking. So I have come across some of the research areas, but to start with 5G, how is it possible? So, because whatever I have showed, it looks it's very, very expensive to implement a 5G. Is it possible for a person? Is it possible for a startup research to do anything on 5G? That's the biggest question, because that's all fine. So that's all fine. IITs can do a lot of huge research, because almost 7,000 crores has been implemented to implement the 5G testbed among the 5 IITs and Indian Institute of Science. So how everyone can work on 5G research? That is a very key important thing. Is it possible? Or it's 5G is always an expensive research? That is very, very important. I will show some more case studies, and then you can later on, you can say, is it possible for a common researcher to start down research on 5G? So these are some of the very high-end researchers as happening. So it is at University of Bristol. So the research is the first research. They have been talking about the massive MIMO measurement in real time using 120 antenna. So this is the one they have been talking. The aim is to real-time performance in the dynamic environment, develop an algorithm that exploits the massive effort to improve the efficiency of the future system. So I have already mentioned about this. So initially they achieved the result 79 for 4 bits per second per hertz. Later on they have gone on to achieve 131 bits per second. I'm going to show some of the few case studies. These are all the real-time publication. So spatial adaptive TV broadcast, hardware in the loop operation. So what they are trying to do it, broadcast antenna are insisted and run one-to-one basis. They can fully reflect on real world condition. This leads to an engineering network which decrease the energy efficiency. How energy efficiency of a digital broadcast can be optimized by adding a coverage in real time by using a beamforming technique. So the key word is energy efficiency, the beamforming technique. Live TV signals. They are implemented using NIUSRP 2920. So this is the place they have principally they implemented the concept of spatial adaptive TV broadcast. Okay, this is my second one. OFDMA based network coded operation testbed, where the transmission on multiple nodes can be ensured using a time division multiplexers or FDMA. The efficient implementation of FDMA OFDM can be used as a several multiple nodes in conditions. So what they are used, in this case also they are used few USRP 2920. WiMAC, rapid implementation of user-defined MAC protocol through separation. So this is also USRP 2953, and with the laptop they are implemented. They are trying to implement a part of 802.11. That's a Wi-Fi standards. In this case, it's a passive radar. It comes under a Doppler's concept. Basically, they are implementing the Doppler concept. When it's coming to Doppler, they are nothing. They are trying to implement the channel model. They are trying to implement a new channel model. This is MIMO OFDM. We will leave the MIMO at the moment. ULLA programmable middleware. This also we will leave at the moment because it comes under something under a millimeter waveform. So forward collision, it's a vehicular research. So in this vehicular research, they used few USRPs and they are using a movable rack where they are trying to implement the vehicular platform channel estimation of the vehicular platform, the mathematical modeling. So diversity and coexistence. So how diversified and coexistence can be, and they use the wireless link of 902 to 928 megahertz bandwidth. They are talking about the SNR. Flexible millimeter wave. So we don't want to touch millimeter at the moment. So we will leave the millimeter. Full duplex radio transmitter architecture for 5G mobile handset. So in this concept, what they are trying to implement is full duplex allows simultaneous TX and RX at the same frequency. Potentially, they are trying to doubling the spectral efficiency, but requires high level of self-inference cancellation. So how they implemented they have used 2x2 vector signal transceiver, one for TX and one for RX. Which we have already seen, the flexible GFDMA FPGA implementation, they are able to prove it for the densification factor. Full duplex CISO. Forget about MIMO. We can try to implement full duplex CISO. So now I have showed some of the global research. These are all not the research. These are all the global research. So I have showed almost 15 research concepts, more than 15 research concepts. Out of that, forget about the millimeter wave, forget about the massive MIMO, because as I said, it requires a huge fund. It's not possible to kickstart with that research. So the first one, the massive MIMO, and the last one, millimeter wave, it's not possible for everybody to start with such type of research. But still, as an individual user, as an individual researcher, there are a lot of possibilities are able to do it with research. Okay. Now the beauty is the AI also come into picture. AI is also coming into the picture. For example, now enabling AI research in 5G network in NISDN. So this is another key research area where we can work on it. So there are a lot of toolboxes are available in LabVIEW, and to be frank, Python is very good in AI. Python is very good in AI. As I already mentioned, you can either integrate Python or you can integrate MATLAB or whichever the third-party software you are much comfortable, you can be able to do it. So there are a lot of AI research is also coming into play. So there are signal intelligence. So signal spectrum or signal intelligence analytics. This is a key research area happening. Even AI can be implemented. You can just Google it in NI website. AI research in 5G. You can able to download this particular paper. There, what type of research they can able to do it. So hardware architecture in AI, you can able to implement some type of radar application. AI in radio. Forget about massive MIMO. I don't want to talk about massive MIMO because it's very expensive. Spectrum sharing. So spectrum sharing and all, it's very, very, very quick start to start our research. So these are some of the AI also come into play. So out of this, so if you just take a spatial adaptive TV broadcaster, in this case also you can able to implement AI, OFDM. So WiMAX also it's possible. MIMO it's not possible. Forward vehicular concept we can able to implement it. Why I am trying to insist on this is, so this is the fundamentals. So whether it's a 4G or it is a 6G, irrespective of the G, the activity at the physical layer, it's not going to be changed. It's not going to change much. Okay, the algorithms of channel coding or the modulation technique, because in earlier it is OFDM. Now there are a lot of modulation techniques are coming into 5G and 6G. So these are all the principles. The principles are not going to change. Whether it's a 5G or it's a 6G or it's a 7G or whatever may be the G, you are going to work on the channel model. You are going to work on the error control coding. You are going to work on the latest modulation technique where you can able to do it in a very small bandwidth, very small spectrum, how you can push a lot of data. You are going to work on a multiple access, which will enable you to work on a high spectral efficiency and some level of source coding. Probably source coding may not be interested for communication engineers. Otherwise, these are the standards which you are going to work on it. So to kickstart this type of research, you need not start with an expensive hardware. That is what I am trying to, because my focus of my presentation is after this presentation, you should be able to kickstart your research in physical layer prototyping, because it's possible to kickstart the research in physical layer prototyping. It's not that difficult. If you just look into USRP software defined radio, this is a flyer of NI. So there are a lot of versions are available, starting from USRP 2900, it moves on to huge versions are available. It goes up to 2974 or inbuilt Rio inbuilt. The starting thing is you can able to do lot of 5G researches with the USRP 2920 onwards. So if you have USRP 2920, you can kickstart your research, because nowadays what they have been looking for is in the transitions and the very good publication is prototyping. So there are a lot of spectrum sensing, spectral intelligence. Now I have already shown a paper on AI. So how you can combine and you can do a spectral analytics when it comes to spectrum sensing, because that's the first part of your cognitive research. That's the first part of AI, then able to build it. So these are all the things, record and playback. So this is a very key concept, record and playback. If you just type in a record and playback in Google, you can find a lot of researchers are, these are fundamental researches which are happening in 5G, I don't want you to start with the straight away going into the beamforming, straight away going into the massive MIMO, straight away going for a 72 gigahertz. It's very expensive. It's very, very expensive. It's not affordable for most of the people, unless if we are associated with the IITs or some of the industries, it's not at all possible. But still, I have shown the GFDMA. So the Gaussian frequency division multiplexing, the prototype of GFDMA is a staggering research. It's a staggering research, and it can be able to implement with the USRP 2920, and you can prototype it. So I hope I understand there are a lot of participants are from the student committee and the young research community. So if and there are a lot of colleges, I'm not talking about the universities, a lot of colleges are having a USRP 2920. So if we can think how you can able to collaborate with them and how you can able to kickstart the research. So this is the first thing I want to insist on going ahead with the research. Before going ahead with the research, you can think about how you can start with the teaching of SDR, because unless you are comfortable in teaching of SDR in fundamentals, it's very, very, very difficult. The biggest difficulty in SDR platform, it's not only in SDR platform, in any platform, is you are not aware of the hardware, because in similar, whatever we have been talking, it's all hardware. It's not programming. It's just not only programming. It's not simulation. We have been talking about hardware. So there are a lot of synchronization issues. There are a lot of syntax issues are there. So unless if you start building, you can start publishing papers on a comparative of a PSK modulation, how QPSK and DPSK and OPSK are varied with a different bit rate to start with an SDR. I'm talking in terms of SDR, that you can able to do it with this. So I am asking, so if you can able to kickstart such level of research in your fundamentals, then probably in a year or time, you can able to move on to this, and you can really do it on 5G. Already 6G has started, the research of 6G has started. That's what I'm saying. Whether it's a 6G or 7G or 8G or whatever may be the G. So whatever the block diagram I'm showing, this is a block diagram for last 100 years. So irrespective of the G, the modulation is going to vary. So instead of without modulation, nothing is going to happen. Instead of OFDM, now it's a new modulation. no more is going to come. So the modulation technique is going to change. How the modulation efficiency can be improved. So any day, the multiple axes are going to, without FDM, whether it's possible to combine FDM and TDM. That's the research is going to happen. So the principles of communications are not going to change it for next 100 years also. It's only the algorithm are going to change it by taking some assumptions. So you need not worry about whether you are on 5G or you are on 6G. Whatever I have been talking, it's relevant even for 6G also. By considering that it is possible to start the research at whatever the facilities the colleges is having at the moment also. So this is what I'm trying to talk. So this is the topic. So SDR, the SDR is the best platform to kickstart the teaching as well as the research. So what our presentation is all about theory to implementation. So with this, you can be able to start your theoretical concepts. So you have to be very good in mathematical modeling. There is no second thought on that. You have to be really very good in textbook knowledge and then mathematical modeling. And then moving on, you can start implementing a few modulation technique or few multiple axes, and then you can be able to completely implement the 5G principles. Once you have done, you can able to collaborate with the IITs, as I mentioned earlier. So there are a lot of potential for young students. They are offering internship during the summer time. So once you can be able to demonstrate few things, then you have a good chance of getting collaborated with the. There are a lot of internship offers are coming. Even I am aware of it. IIT Chennai and IIT. There are a lot of internship offers are there. But for getting into the internship, you need to have implemented something on SDR platform. I'm just only talking about SDR. Doesn't mean there are not scope for other research. Already you people are working on antenna research using ANSYS platform or NST. So that's a different one. Okay. So my presentation is mostly focused on the physical layer. It's more on focused on this particular block layer. So and it's more on physical layer enhancement. So the different levels of algorithm which we have been talking. So I have showed some of the global research. In the global research, they have not used very expensive equipment. There are expensive research are there which we need not worry at the moment. So since we are now starting the 5G research, it can be easily implemented. And I'm sure since it's an antenna research, you are talking about antenna design. Probably you can try to implement some antenna concepts of beamforming, of using antenna research using ANSYS. Then prototype that antenna. Now you prototype the antenna using the SDR facility. You can validate the antenna. That is the very fundamental research and very excellent research. You are prototype antenna for 5G, but that antenna has to be validated for a real-time environment. You can validate that antenna using some 8PSK or DPSK using the SDR facility, which is available. Whatever I'm talking, it's not easy, but it takes some effort of at least 6 months to a year. If you can be able to do it, you have a large scope of research facilities. So with this, I'm concluding. I'm looking for a few questions so that you can take it from here and you can utilize my presentation and concepts also. Once again, I thank you, the Milan management, the Department of EC, for giving me opportunity to share my few thoughts on SDR, particularly on the physical layer implementation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful session, sir. Participants, you can post your questions. So we will share the feedback link in 5 minutes. So do you have any questions? You can post it out. So I do have a question regarding SDR, sir.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Sir, actually, cognitive radio is evolved from SDR, if I'm correct. So, yes, what is the exact difference right now? You said about all the SDR applications and the platforms, everything, but the cognitive radio is the advanced version of SDR. So what is the essential difference between CR and SDR?
Sir, to implement the cognitive radio, we can use SDR platform. So the purpose of cognitive radio is for the spectral efficiency. So how we can optimally use the spectrum? So assuming that you are having two SDR, the first SDR can, that's what I told, it's a record and playback. So the first SDR can evaluate what are all the using frequency. It's a very fundamental research for a final year students. They can try to implement this research. And the beauty of NI is there are a lot of forums are available. You need not build the code from the scratch. There are a lot of codes are available. If you just Google it, using that you can check it. I know that there are two SDRs are available in Milam itself. Okay, so if you just using one SDR, you can see what type of frequency are available around that SDR. I'm talking about 2 to 6 meters because it's the gain of the SDR is much lower. It's 0 dBm because it's more of a prototyping device. So in that SDR, they can able to see what type of frequencies are available. They can easily pinpoint that the frequency available are the mobile frequency and all the radio station frequency, predominantly all the radio station frequency. So all the radio station frequency, and you can easily plot it on the graph. Once you understood that based on the energy detection, that frequency are available, with another SDR, you can start transmitting in completely different frequency. There is no 100 megahertz of radio station, and you will not have a spectrum at 100 megahertz using the first SDR. Once you can able to identify that, you can start using the second SDR and start transmitting with the 100 megahertz. So in this case, there are AI is also of late has been implemented. So this is the simplest way where cognitive radio can be implemented. So that's the first part of the spectrum sensing. And a good number of final year students can get involved in doing this project.
Thank you, sir. And we do have questions from participants. Whether the spectrum reuse can be made in SDR?
Yes, spectrum reuse can be done. Spectrum reuse. So that's what I told. So it's a dynamic process. So in one paper, they have told about the adaptive one. So if they can able to implement a algorithm, they can able to use the spectrum reuse. But I have not done it. But it is 100% possible.
And there is another question, sir. How to overcome the drawbacks of 5G using MM wave? And tell us when MMO and MM wave would be chosen.
You mean to ask millimeter wave will come into picture or not?
Yeah, the question is like.
Yeah. Please share the effects of 5G and possible way to overcome and eliminate those effects, transmitting and receiving. So you are talking about the millimeter wave.
Yes, sir.
Millimeter wave, my understanding and my experience is millimeter wave will come into picture in a very closed environment, particularly in a developed nation. It's very, very difficult to implement the millimeter wave in an open environment. So in a closed manufacturing sector, millimeter wave will come into picture. So and people are working whether it has any medical impact on millimeter wave, and already Rappaport has published there is no medical side effects on millimeter wave, because if some waves are passing at 72 gigahertz and 78 gigahertz, whether they have, and they have proved there is no medical impact, but it's a long way to go to implement in India. That's what I feel. It's very difficult to implement millimeter wave in an open environment.
Thank you, sir. And one final question. Please share the effect of 5G and possible ways to overcome or eliminate those effects while transmitting and receiving scenario.
Okay. So I will share the few things to the HOD sir email ID by end of the day. Maybe you can share it to the participants and they can look into that.
Sure, sir. Sure. I'll do that, sir. Thank you, sir. Participants, I would like to, could you please turn on your video so that we can take a group snapshot, or we have to submit the same to the
Yeah, no problem, sir. I'll switch on. Where is my switch on my camera?
I request all the participants to do the same. Every final session, we will have this group snapshot session. So kindly turn on your video.
Sir, can you able to see me?
Sir, you can stop your screen sharing session, sir, so that we can able to see you. Yes. So just give me a minute, sir.
Is it okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
I think my video is not coming.
Sure.
Maybe I can log it and log in if you want.
Just 5 minutes. Yes, thank you, participants. So thank you, participants, for your active participation, and thank you, sir, for your wonderful session. That's the end of the first day sessions, and I request all the participants to join tomorrow's first session on time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.